Hey everybody, this is Patrick Sukup with Sukup Real Estate Services in Fort Collins, Colorado. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the buyer settlement statement, or basically what details the cost, the fees, prepaids, what you've already deposited, and breaks it all down into 1 or 2 pages for you to oversee and to close your transaction. It can be a pretty daunting statement. For me specifically, I remember closing on my first real estate transaction with a loan, and about 3 to 5 days prior to closing, get an email from my realtor and essentially saying, hey, here's your settlement statement. We'll see you at closing in a couple days. And it was a pretty big gut punch. Essentially, I got hit with another $5,000 to $6,000 that I had no idea that I was going to be responsible for bringing to the table, but I sucked it up, closed on the deal, and will never forget that experience. That being said, I want to bring this to you so that hopefully for when you buy your first house, you kind of have an understanding going into it. One of the conversations that I have with my buyers at the beginning of our conversation is what they can and should expect as far as closing costs when they buy a house, which I generally say is about 1 to 2% of the loan value. And so if you're talking about a $300,000 house and you're gonna have a loan of about $270,000, anywhere from $5,000 to, or really about $3,000 to $5,000 is something that you should expect as a cost to close, which those be broken down from fees to prepaids and things that will ultimately dictate that extra $2,000 or $3,000 to $5,000. So here is kind of a high-level example of what a settlement statement should look like that you should ask and demand from your real estate agent about at least 2 to 3 days prior to close, so that you can get your ducks in a row for financing. But ultimately it's going to come down from again, this is a buyer settlement statement. It's going to come down to what the fees and prepaids are, debits and credits. Debits are really going to be what you are going to be getting charged, and credits are going to be what you are giving, outlaying financially and receiving. So essentially it's going to come down, and in a lot of different settlement statements are going to look different, but ultimately there's going to be 3 main sections: financial, your loan, and your title. Financial is going to start with your sales price. In this example, we went with $3,000. Your deposit, your earnest money. So where did that $3,000 go when I wrote the check when we first went under contract? Well, this is where it's going to be outlined. Then your loan amount. In this example, we went with just a 10% down loan, so the loan amount is going to be $270,000. I forgot to write in here, but when you buy a house, at least here in Fort Collins, our taxes are paid for the prior year. So ultimately, the year that I'm living in right now, 2020, my taxes for this year in my house will not be due until 2021. So if I were to sell my house in 2021 or this year, I need to give the buyer of my house my portion of the taxes that I'm responsible for this year. So just threw in a number of $1,300 that the buyer is going to receive as a credit towards their financials. So then we're going to come down in here to the loan charges. You should be talking with your lender and getting a closing disclosure from them at the beginning and at the end once they've got everything settled. But on your settlement statement, it will break down, hopefully, what those fees are as well. And they should be, read pretty much the same. On your closing disclosure, your appraisal fee should read the same as your appraisal fee on your settlement statement. So on here, you've got for loan charges, your appraisal fee, processing, credit report, prepaid interest, escrow of your home insurance, and escrow of your property taxes. So this prepaid interest, escrow of your home insurance, and escrow of your property taxes, those are all figures that you will be paying in advance that will benefit you for your house. Some of these fees are just fees that are going to be associated with many deals. These are not exclusive. These are not there's a few of these will be on every single deal, but if you're buying a house cash, your settlement statement's not gonna have an appraisal fee or pretty much any of these loan charges. Also, unless you're escrowing, if you're paying cash, you're not gonna have a lot of these escrows, as you probably won't be escrowing your property taxes or insurance. Jumping down into the title section, even though in Colorado, if the seller selects the title company, they will pay for the title insurance for the home, but your lender will also require a lender's policy, which will come down in here in your Alta loan policy. Some have closing protection letters, fees, and some of these there's different verbiage between different title companies. So take the time to talk to your lender and title closer and your real estate agent to really help you understand what those fees are and why they are there. A closing fee. So what is the title company going to charge? Generally in Colorado, we split it half and half, which right now is about $340. So the buyer section is going to be about $170. Recording fees. The documents have to be recorded with the county clerk and recorder. So they'll pass those fees on to you. Generally pretty affordable, $36, but again, let's look at how many we're talking about right now. There's quite a few fees and prepays that you're going to be charged as a buyer to close on this home. So you need to understand that those add up pretty quick. A loan closing fee, if your title company, if you go through a lender that is not local and you've talked with your lender and they're not going to be at closing and they've given their documents to the title company to close for you, that title company is going to charge you a loan closing fee. And even still, maybe that lender might charge you a loan closing fee as well. It's just a question that you should ask, but in general, if the title company is going to be closing your loan, they're going to be charging you a dollar figure for them to do that. Miscellaneous. When you buy a house, a lot of times your insurance provider is going to require that you prepay a year's worth of insurance in advance. HOA, I just put one line, but talk about something that can extend your settlement statement probably by about 10 rows. From your capital contribution to the HOA, to a monthly due, to an association document fee, to a transfer fee. HOA fees can get extensive. So I've already discussed, townhomes and condos. I do like them for specific opportunities for people to get involved with a lower priced home when they're getting started. But between HOAs and the closings and the transfers and capital contributions, special assessments, there are a lot of things that, townhomes and condos get to be pretty expensive. So even though I've only put one line here, that could go, dramatically long. And then an aggregate adjustment. Ultimately, ask a question, because this could be a debit or a credit on your line depending on what that adjustment has to be, and ask your title company what that actually is and why they had to do that. So, which brings us down to the subtotals. It's going to be your original sales price plus all these debits to get you to your subtotal of $305,000. On the subtotal side for your credit, it's going to be what was your down payment and any other credits. If there was a seller concession, basically county taxes and your loan are all going to be added up and come down here. So we've got a $305,000 line and our subtotal of $274,000. The difference between those two are going to be what you as a buyer are going to be required to bring to closing. That's going to be your down payment plus the closing costs. So even though we're only buying this house for $30,000 and we put $3,000 down, our closing to bring to closing is $30,700 to bring us to our final purchase price of $305,000. Lots of numbers, lots of lines. You go through this closing process, you go through buying a house, it takes about 30 to 45 days. It is extensive. It is a big responsibility, undertaking, and exciting. But there are a lot of facts and figures that get tossed around like they're no big deal. I would suggest you really just educate yourself, understand what some of these line items are and why they are being charged. And again, there could be so many more. You could be escrowing costs that the seller still needs to take care of. You could be escrowing a roof that needs to be replaced. So you're putting $10,000 into escrow until that roof gets replaced. There could be HOA fees, a mile long. There could be transfer fees, utility fees. We'll be jumping into the seller side on our next video, but for right now, the buyer settlement statement is extremely important. It dictates how much you are going to be bringing to closing, how much you're going to be charged, and those numbers can get pretty big. So I really hope that you've taken from this and enjoyed it, found some things out, learned some things. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My name is Patrick Sukup with Sukup Real Estate Services. I'm in Fort Collins, Colorado. I service all of Northern Colorado, Greeley, Longmont, Loveland, Windsor, Wellington, pretty much anything north of Longmont. I would really love it if you could click to subscribe, like the video, and add any and all comments that you might have, as I would enjoy talking with you about anything and everything real estate, investment, brokerage, management, and hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing my kids run around upstairs. So that's the studio for us. Have a great day.